CS4 is designed to make your web design workflow efficient and standards compliant. For this overview, our focus will be on improved workflows for web development, rich internet applications, and mobile devices. We'll start off by looking at Fireworks with enhanced site prototyping capabilities and improved CSS exporting. Most of the time when you export a page out as HTML and CSS from a program like Fireworks, it's really image intensive. Well, instead of just exporting everything out as images, we have the ability to create HTML elements in real form controls directly here inside of Fireworks. Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to open up the HTML elements folder, and inside that I can see that we have all these form elements, and over on the sidebar on the left-hand side of the page, I want to go ahead and put a text field over there. And if I wanted to, I could open up the symbol properties panel and begin to assign it some properties. Now those guys are going to export out as form elements wrapped within a form tag. The other thing that Fireworks is going to do for us is it's going to export out HTML and external CSS. The CSS is going to control the presentation and the layout. So I'll go up to File and choose Export. And from our options, notice that one of our options is CSS and images. You can choose to put any images in a subfolder, and that's all I need to do. Now, switching over to Dreamweaver, this is my HTML and my CSS that was created by Fireworks. Notice we have our working form controls inside of form tags, and if I take a look at the CSS file, notice that it stored the CSS in an external file, and all of it is standards compliant. Now, one of the things I'm really excited about is the integration with Photoshop, and I want to show that off real quick. So I'm going to open up a page here, and here we have a space up top where we really need a banner that's not finished yet. As a matter of fact, it's still a layered Photoshop file. Well, with CS4, that's not a problem. I'm just going to go up, insert an image, and we'll find our web banner Photoshop file and import this. So we'll go ahead and stick with a JPEG. Click OK. So I'll put that in the images directory. And then from there, it's just like placing any other graphic. You give it your alt text. Here we're seeing something new. This little icon that we have up here indicates that this is a Photoshop file. Now, let's say I want to edit this. I can go right down here and click Edit in the Properties Inspector. And with the new integration between the two products, it goes ahead and opens right back up in Photoshop. And I'm editing the PSD file, not the JPEG. So I'm going to turn on the visibility of a layer, and I'll just save this, close it, and we'll jump back into Dreamweaver. Now in Dreamweaver, we get a little message via that icon that something's changed. So I can simply right-click, choose Update from Original, and the new one comes in, optimized, saves over the old web graphic. Now there are a ton of goodies in Dreamweaver. If I click inside some text, notice that the Properties Inspector down here at the bottom has a tab for HTML and a tab for CSS. Well, in the tab for CSS, I can go ahead and edit the rule directly here, right on the Properties Inspector, without having to go into any code or any other panel. I can change fonts, and I've actually updated my external style sheet by just doing this. I can create new rules here. I can edit existing rules. Another thing that I can do is use the Code Navigator. The Code Navigator allows us to see all related rules in the order of the cascade as they're applied to this. And I can see that the one controlling, let's say, color doesn't happen until way up here. So if I wanted to change the color directly on this rule, I could just click, and it takes me right to the related file, even though it's an external file. And I could edit the rule here by just maybe changing the color of the text. Saving that, and you can see it goes ahead and updates it. Now I mentioned before that we have enhanced Spry integration as well, and here it doesn't look like much, but what we have on the page now is a master detail Spry HTML dataset. Now I'm going to switch over to another new feature in Dreamweaver, Live View, that's going to allow us to preview live CSS and JavaScript based interactivity. Once I turn on Live View, I get to see the completed page, and I can even interact with this just as the finished page is going to interact with it, which is wonderful. Now, this data is coming from an external HTML document, and Spry is assembling this data set at real time. So now, in addition to be able to pull Spry datasets from XML files, we can pull Spry datasets from other HTML files. Now, let's check out some of Flash's capabilities. The Deco tool allows you to draw patterns using a couple of different techniques. I'm going to explore the vine fill. What's nice about this is you can use the default artwork, or you can substitute your own, which is what most of you will probably do. So you can just click into the Properties Inspector and choose any symbol that you have in your library to use for your Deco tool. Another nice thing about this is that you can have the Deco tool animate this as a frame-by-frame animation instead of just drawing the pattern all at once. So I'm just going to click to draw my pattern, And notice that Flash is doing a frame-by-frame animation for me. And when I stop it, if I scrub back and forth, I have a nice frame-by-frame animation. Animating inside Flash is totally different in CS4. It used to be if I wanted to animate this logo in place, it wasn't complicated, but it just took a lot of steps. Now it's really, really simple. I could right-click and choose Create Motion Tween. I now have a motion tween. That's all I needed to do. I can move the object where I want it. I can change any property that I want, such as scaling it up, and my tween is complete. And that's not the only thing I can do with this tween. I can cause it to curve, for example, just by moving that line. CS4 Web Premium makes delivering video easier as well. Two of the things that I'm most excited about are the ability to easily encode multiple bit rates of the same source file and, of course, H.264 encoding. So I'm going to go ahead and add a QuickTime movie here that has H.264 encoding. I also have a range of presets to choose from. So I'm going to go ahead and choose an HD encoding preset. And if I'd like, I can edit those settings. I have the ability here to scrub the video. I can set in points and I can set out points. And I can preview what the output is going to look like. On the right-hand side, we have a lot of tabs that allow us to go through and choose different encoding settings, different codecs, different audio codecs. If you're going to be delivering in Flash, we can set up our cue points here. I'm going to go ahead and click OK to accept the defaults. And what if I want multiple bit rates of this to be delivered? All I have to do is select the video in the queue and hit duplicate. Well, I can just choose different presets. So maybe I want to go for a web modem for my second one. And maybe for this one, I'm going to go down to a web medium. So all I have to do is hit Start Queue, and this is going to create 3 FLV and F4V files to be delivered through Flash and maybe even other mediums. The Web Premium Edition also adds increased support for Adobe's integrated runtime environment with packaging for Air applications built directly into Flash and Fireworks and available in Dreamweaver as a downloadable extension. Here we're back in Fireworks, and we have the beginnings of an Air application. Notice that I have for the close icon a slice over that has some scripting built directly on the slice, and that's going to become part of our Air app. Well, packaging an Air application is different in each application. In Flash, you go to your publishing settings. In Dreamweaver, as we mentioned, it's an extension that adds commands. And here in Fireworks, we're going to go to Commands, and we're going to choose Create Air Package. What I want to show you is we have the ability to preview our Air application before we ever go to the trouble of creating the package. So I'm going to choose Preview, and you can see the interactivity being showcased. I'm free to grab this and drag it around and watch how it will behave over the desktop. And any interactivity that I've built into the Fireworks file is now part of my Air application. So all I would need to do now to create an Air application out of this is to go ahead and create the package for this. Now, this integrated support for Air means that the rich internet applications that you've been creating can now have a much broader reach, even going so far as to reside on the desktop. Device Central is the hub of mobile development within CS4, and it now features a rich online library of mobile device profiles and the ability to create new documents based off device profiles directly from Device Central. As part of the splash screen, it wants to know if you want to create a new mobile file. Now, if we're going to create a new Flashlight file, we choose the player version that we want, and from the player version we can go over and choose the profile that we want from our sample devices. So once we've chosen a profile, we can choose Create, and it'll switch us into Flash and create the document for us. And I'm going to switch over to index.fla, which is already created. Once you've created a mobile file and you're ready to test this, it will test it directly in Device Central. So if I go up to Control and choose Test Movie, and you go ahead and choose the profile that you want to view this at. And of course, we can change our view settings. And we can interact with our sample mobile device just as your user would interact with the phone. Well, this is one of our generic Flashlight profiles. What if we wanted to see this on an actual phone profile? Well, if we don't have the phone we're looking for in our local library, chances are it's part of Adobe's online library. And you'll notice in the lower left-hand corner here, I can go out and look by manufacturer. I can open up a list of phones, and if I scroll down, I can see any of the files that would work for the current file that I'm profiling. So I could choose that specific device, drag it into my local library, and it will install it automatically for me. Then I could go ahead and choose the device that I wanted to preview this in. And now I can see my mobile application directly previewed within that phone itself. Now, regardless of whether you're developing websites, creating e-learning, building rich internet applications, developing mobile content, or a mixture of all these things, CS4 Web Premium gives you the tools you need to build efficient and powerful workflows around your individual vision.